Welcome to this explainer. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off right away and start with the brutal, unavoidable truth. You and I are spectacularly bad at changing our behavior. I mean, think about it. Every January 1st, we stand in front of the mirror, puff out our chests, and declare that this is the year. We're going to wake up at 5 a.m., drink kale smoothies, and run 10 miles a day. And by January 7th, yeah, we're right back on the couch, covered in chip crumbs, wondering what on earth went wrong. Well, I've got good news and bad news for you. The good news is that your total inability to stick to a resolution is not a moral failing. You're not a bad person. But the bad news? Your brain is basically a 300,000-year-old cheapskate. So today, we're going to heavily roast our own ridiculous biology and crack open the ultimate user manual for our downright dumb brains. I want you to picture a highly relatable scenario for a second. It's 10 p.m. You're standing in your kitchen, bathed in the lovely fluorescent glow of an open refrigerator. You're staring blankly at a block of expired cheddar cheese. And here's the kicker. You aren't even hungry. You have absolutely zero logical memory of getting off the couch, walking into the kitchen, and opening that fridge door. You are operating on pure, unadulterated autopilot. There is literally not a single logical thought happening in your head at this exact moment. So, if you're not in control, who exactly is driving the bus? All right, section 1, your lazy caveman brain. We're talking surviving tigers and hoarding dopamine. Okay, let's dive into this. The truth is, your brain doesn't hate you. It's just evolutionarily wired to be unbelievably lazy. Look, back in the caveman days, the ultimate goal was incredibly simple. Don't get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, and if you see a carbohydrate, you shove it into your face immediately to save survival energy. Your brain wants to conserve energy at all costs. Enter the basal ganglia. Think of this as your brain's autopilot department. When an action gets repeated enough times and delivers a nice hit of dopamine, your brain creates a shortcut. It just hands the script straight over to the basal ganglia and literally shuts down your prefrontal cortex, which, by the way, is the logical decision-making part of your brain. So yes, this specific piece of ancient hardware is entirely to blame for your late-night doom scrolling and your expired cheese eating.
Which brings us to section 2, under the hood of the habit, looking at the 4-part Clear and Hig model to see how this faulty hardware actually gets triggered.
This brilliantly illustrates the exact mechanics of our inevitable failures, but also our potential successes. Every habit you have is made of 4 exasperatingly simple steps. Step 1 is the cue, the trigger. It could be a location, a specific time of day, an emotional state like boredom, or honestly, even that one specific friend who makes it physically impossible to hang out without ordering a large pizza. The exact moment you sit on that couch, the loop opens up. Step 2 is the craving. Now, you don't actually crave the junk food. Your brain is just anticipating the dopamine hit. It wants that change in state. Then comes step 3, the response. This is you actually doing the thing, scrolling your phone, biting your nails, buying garbage you don't need online. And finally, step 4, the reward. The dopamine floods in and your brain bookmarks it, shouting, "Wow, that was amazing. Let's definitely do that again tomorrow." Moving right along to section 3, roasting the willpower myth and why trying harder is an absolute scam. Time to tear down some toxic positivity from the self-help industry. Because if I hear one more person tell me to just believe in myself or dig deep, I might actually lose my mind. Willpower is not some magic muscle that you just need to flex harder. It is a finite battery. And spoiler alert, that battery is completely dead by 4 p.m. after a brutal day of dealing with annoying emails and making endless decisions. You know those smug people in your life with supposedly insane willpower? Yeah, they aren't superhuman. They are just manipulating their environment so they don't even have to rely on a battery that's drained by the time evening rolls around. Their secret cheat code is environment design, or what we should really call friction hacking. You need to weaponize friction. You've got to make your bad habits an incredibly annoying, multi-step chore. Want to stop watching so much TV? Don't just sit there and try harder. Take the batteries out of the remote and put them in a drawer in a completely different room. Want to stop buying stuff you don't need at 1 a.m.? Delete your saved credit card info from your browser. Force yourself to physically get up and find your wallet, or literally unplug your Wi-Fi router at night. I guarantee you the pure, unadulterated laziness of your caveman brain will kick in and say, ugh, walking across the room is way too much work, forget it. And on the flip side, make your good habits blindingly obvious. Put your running shoes right next to your bed so you literally trip over them the second you wake up. Next up, section 4, tricking your stupid brain. We're getting into parasites, piggybacking, and toilet squats. Now, what's really interesting here is habit stacking. Look, you cannot build a brand new habit in a vacuum. It doesn't work. But what you can do is act like a behavioral parasite and piggyback onto an existing routine. See, your brain already has these massive cemented neural superhighways for things you do every day, like brushing your teeth or making coffee. So consider this incredibly absurd, totally ridiculous example. After I flush the toilet, I will do 5 squats. I know, it sounds deeply undignified, but think about it for a second. You flush the toilet multiple times a day, right? If you attach a tiny habit to that already existing trigger, by the end of the day, you've somehow tricked your deeply lazy brain into doing 25 squats without ever stepping foot inside a gym. It's utterly ridiculous, and it absolutely works. Which leads us straight into the 2-minute rule. The ultimate trap we all fall into is trying to start perfectly. When you tell your brain, okay, starting tomorrow, I am going to study for 2 solid hours, your caveman hardware enters an immediate, catastrophic state of existential panic. 2 hours sounds like agonizing, life-threatening effort, so naturally, you procrastinate. Instead, you have to drastically lower the bar just to build some momentum. Study for 2 hours has to become read 1 single page tonight. Do a 40-minute yoga routine becomes just get out my yoga mat. Do you notice that insane drop in expectation? That is exactly the point. Because the reality is, once you are already standing on the mat, momentum takes over. The very first step is the hardest part. Just trick your brain into doing 2 minutes. But here is where it all comes together. True long-term success requires a fundamental identity shift. Imagine 2 people being offered a cigarette. The person on the left says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." Notice the language. They are actively battling their own identity. They still deeply see themselves as a smoker who is currently just denying themselves a treat. It's a struggle. But the person on the right, they just say, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." Boom, effortless. Smokers smoke, non-smokers don't. You have to stop battling what you are trying to do and start acting based on who you are. Every tiny action you take is just casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. Finally, Section 5, handling the inevitable screw-up and doing damage control for when you fail. Because let's return to harsh reality for a second. You are going to mess up. I am definitely going to mess up. You will absolutely order and eat an entire pizza. You will stay up until 2 a.m. watching just one more episode of a show you don't even like that much. But the difference between success and failure isn't about being perfect. It's entirely about what you do immediately after you fail. This is the never miss twice rule. Listen closely. The first mistake is just an accident. You had a bad day, you got 0 sleep, it happens to the best of us. But the second mistake, that right there is the birth of a brand new bad habit. If you miss your workout today, do not throw your hands up and say, well, the whole week is ruined, I guess I'll start again next month. No, you get back up and you do a 5-minute version of your habit the very next day. You step in and do damage control before the concrete of that new bad habit has time to harden. So, I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. When you inevitably screw up tomorrow, and you will, are you going to let the concrete harden? Or are you going to use a 2-minute habit to hack your caveman brain? You've got the cheat codes now. You know exactly how this ancient hardware works. So stop relying on a dead battery of willpower, start weaponizing your environment, and go outsmart your own laziness.